Pentax, a name culturally bound to film photography. From the M42 screw-mount Super Tacumars to the various iterations of the K-mount lenses, there's a kind of cult following behind the brand, one which lures people in before they...
I like the way the lenses make pictures.
The seeds for this one were planted a while ago for me. When I started getting into film photography, I unearthed my mom's old K1000 and had her go on a couple photo walks with me, and my interest in the brand was almost immediate. While I wasn't impressed with the camera itself, I really liked how the kit lens rendered each scene, and wanted to figure out what camera might be right for me in order to have some K-mount goodness in my life. My search initially took me to the Pentax LX, but the price tag continually warded me off. Sure, the metering system and interchangeable viewfinders are really nice, but the main things I was after was the 1/2000 shutter and aperture priority shooting. I could have gotten one of those autofocus Pentax models, namely the CE-5 I was looking at, but the shutter and mirror likes to break in those things, and there wasn't any good deals when I was shopping around. So my search took me elsewhere, to K-mount cameras by third-party manufacturers. There were a few interesting options from a few different brands, but eventually I settled on this. The Chinon CE-5. Released in... This was Chinon's attempt at a mass-market solution to autofocus and SLR cameras, ultimately failing to gain popularity. But hey, it uses the Pentax K-mount and has the shooting features I want, so when one popped up in working condition with a lens for about $50, I bought it. It can't do full automatic shooting, which is a slight shame, but I wasn't looking for that anyway. My specific copy was also already missing some of the leather on the camera, so I elected to replace it with some white leatherette I had, just to give it a bit more of a distinct look. The lens which came with mine is a Ricoh-produced 50mm f2 lens, which I would seek to replace, but according to strangers online, it's a good, fairly sharp lens. My copy seems to be particularly good for its build quality, as the aperture clicks are still very nice and defined, and the focusing ring has a satisfying amount of resistance. The shooting experience is very nice. I shot mostly in aperture priority mode, with only a few shots fully manual. Nearly all crucial controls are accessible with one hand, so the shooting rhythm ends up being fairly fast alongside comfortable ergonomics, given you're able to get one with the detachable grip. The depth of field preview being a lever was one of my favorite parts of this, as despite the relatively high resistance of the lever, it felt snappy enough to help inform decisions on otherwise fleeting shots. The only real complaint I have is the winding lever. It feels awful in the initial stage of winding, just wobbly and fragile feeling, which leaves me concerned about the longevity of the mechanism. On its aesthetics, I have to admit I'm pretty partial to it. Despite being comparable in size to a Nikon EM, there's a kind of chunkiness to it, like the designers wanted to make every main feature as big as possible on the small camera body, and I love that. The different accenting marks also contribute to this, from the checkering of the grip to the weird little vertical lines under the logo on the front of the camera. Hey, can we talk about that? Yeah, so I couldn't find anything for a while that actually definitively states this camera's release date. One blogger's review claims 1981, but says it as a passing remark to point to its unpopularity in the UK. Pentax forums and other disparate sources say a mix of 1981 and 1982, but Pentax forums adds a question mark to it, showing it's very uncertain. I go to the camera manual, hoping to find a copyright date. There's nothing. A Photo.net post from 2004, 1981. I did eventually find a primary source, however. Crawling through the Internet Archive got me to a backup of Chinon's website in 1998. The earliest archived webpage to mention the CE-5, listing it along the lower spec CG-5, serving as a mirror for their manuals. The date range it gives me? July 1982 to May 1984. This is the production run of these two cameras. According to the official website, the official release of the CE-5 is July 1982. Then why do people think it came out in 1981? My mind immediately went back to the inciting article I found from the British source, mentioning its sale at Dixon's. My search then led me in the direction of catalogs produced by them, but the closest I got is for the 1983 Christmas season, headlining the CE-5 next to the Pentax and Olympus offerings. From all I could find, there is no existing promotional material advertising the CE-5 for sale in 1981, or even 1982. The 1983 catalog is the earliest advertisement I can find. In the archive of Chinon's website, citing a production run of 1982 to 1984, is the only official source I can find that gives a date for its release. My best guess is that there might have been some confusion with the date because of its aesthetic similarities with the CE-4 or 4S, which was actively being advertised in 1981. Maybe there was an announcement for the camera in 1981 that slipped through the cracks? I'm not really sure. Where we stand now is that the available info points to 1982 for its arrival to market, where it, alongside its lower spec model, lasted for a bit under 2 years before being phased out. For reference, the cameras it's being advertised alongside in that 1983 catalog lasted on the market for around 5 years. With all that settled, tangent aside, what's my verdict on this camera? In my opinion, the CE-5 is a solid choice for people who want something very specific out of a K-mount camera. Do you want high shutter speeds on an angular body? Do you not mind plastic but don't want something absurdly light? Do you not care about a lack of automatic aperture selection? If yes, go for it. This is a good camera. Despite its relative failure on the market at the time of its release, I can see this being someone's forever camera. In time, it could become mine. I like it so much. For now, though, all I can do is recommend it. Thanks for watching. Yeah. I did pretty okay there.